If you can see my screen, would you give me a thumbs up? Awesome, thanks guys. Yours might still be loading. But with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome, this is our September Seesaw PD Social. Really a chance to learn more about a technology tool, but also a chance to learn how to apply this well and to talk with each other, collaborate, share ideas, brainstorm, that sort of thing. So I'm super excited to be here with you. My name is McKenzie Fuller. For those of you that I haven't met, I'm the technology coach for the Ontario School Districts. I'll leave this up here and then also share it at the end, but there's my email address. If you need to get in touch with me, feel free to shoot me an email. I am not an expert by any means, but I'll do what I can to find the answers to your questions as you have them and as you dive into this platform. Couple of things that are important to know about our PD Social. So the first thing is just that it's hosted by the Eastern Oregon Wren. And really, again, this is a weekly virtual PD and networking opportunity that's available to the educators in our region, so all over our side of the state, every Tuesday during the month of September. So we have two goals. The first is that you're going to learn some strategies for effectively engaging students and families, and then also that you'll get to collaborate virtually with other educators from our region, using Seesaw to share some ideas and successes and resources. So again, I'm glad you're here, and thanks so much for jumping in on a Tuesday evening. Holy cow, this is impressive. Some important logistics to know. So our session will run from 7 to 8:30 p.m. I do recommend having two devices. You definitely don't need them, but it is helpful to be able to see the Zoom call on one screen and be able to work with your hands on the other device. You'll get a chance to see both the teacher and the student platforms. The teacher platform will be displayed during our Zoom call, so I'll do some live demonstrating of that platform as we're talking. But then you'll be working within the student platform. You're going to get a chance really to get your hands into Seesaw, into a mock classroom, and try out some activities today. And just a quick warning, we're going to kind of jump off the deep end tonight. And so if you're fairly new to Seesaw, or brand new to Seesaw, I will do everything that I can to get you caught up, but just know there's sort of an assumption that you've had some experience with this platform, and so really the focus is on application tonight. There will be opportunity to ask questions throughout, but if you have questions, our group is small enough that if you need to unmute and pause me and ask a question, please feel free to do so. And then if you would like a copy of our slide deck, there is a link here at the bottom. It's bit.ly/seesawsocial1, and those S's are capitalized. So you're welcome to take this so that you have something to refer back to, just in case that's helpful. If you're having a hard time connecting or Zoom seems to be cutting in and out, you're welcome to turn your camera off. I know sometimes that helps a lot for me if my connection is poor. And then also if you're having a hard time with that connection and your mic doesn't seem to be streaming through very well, you're welcome to post questions and comments in the chat. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. So I have a quote on the screen, and I'm hoping you can see this, but we'll see. This quote is from a book called The Distance Learning Playbook, and I know some of the districts in our area have already gotten their hands on this book and are really diving into it. I just have started to read this with some of the coaches in my district. But this is a line actually just from the introduction of this book, and this quote says, "We do not want to be talked at, but learn with." And I had to read this quote several times as I started going through this book. And at first I thought, I think there's a typo there. It just doesn't seem to flow. But the more that I read it, the more that I kind of started to grasp what the authors were talking about. And it became a little bit more powerful in my mind. And so I just want to give you a second to reread this quote. You need to do it a couple of times. That's okay. But take a minute to read it, and then in the chat of our Zoom call, if you would restate this in your own words, that would be awesome. Not a quiz, but again, just reread it carefully, and then see if you can restate this in your own words. What do you think they're trying to say? Love these. Thank you so much. Yeah, I would absolutely agree with each of these. This idea that learning is all about doing, not just sitting back and passively receiving. I also think there's a component here that is super important, and that's this idea of community, right? We don't go to school or sign up for evening PD sessions so that somebody can sit and talk at us for an hour and a half, right? We want to be a part of a community that's learning together, to share ideas, to collaborate, to build relationships, and to learn with each other, really. And I think that's part of what the authors are getting at too, is this idea of classroom community. And in a time where I think for a lot of people we're more isolated than ever, we've been pulled out of these social circles that we're so used to. This idea of classroom community is so, so important. And that's what we're going to take a look at tonight, is this idea, like you all said, about getting in and doing things, but then also doing them together and learning together. So before we dive into Seesaw, I do have one more question for you. During a traditional school year, sorry, what do you do to build community in your classroom? And again, go ahead and post in the chat. But if you have something big that you want to share that's going to take you 10 minutes to type, it is okay to unmute yourself and just share it for us. But again, during a traditional school year, what do you do to build community in your classroom? Working in partners, listening to each other, taking care of each other. Yeah, these are great. Team building activities, learning how to talk to each other and how to treat each other, what sort of language to use, I'm sure. Awesome, thank you. These are great. Encouragement to be a team and teach and learn with each other. Awesome. Yeah, I was looking at back to school and the start to the school year, and I used to teach second grade before I became the technology coach for our district, and I definitely had some core activities that I loved to do at the beginning of the year, right? Those books that you love to read to your kids, and the activities, the games, the team building challenges that you love to do. And some of those I looked and went, how in the world would you do that in a virtual setting? It just seems impossible. And I think there are certainly people out there, maybe you're one of them, that looks at these ideas in general and goes, how in the world am I supposed to do this in a virtual setting? How do we have partner conversations and give kids a chance to collaborate and work together and complete some sort of a challenge, that sort of thing? And it's a little bit challenging, but that's going to be our focus tonight, is this idea of how do we leverage a technology tool, Seesaw specifically, to help build community in our classrooms. Are there some activities, some challenges, some things that we can take and put into a digital platform to present to our students and to engage them, not only with the activity, but also with each other in the process? So again, the theme of tonight is community building activities, Seesaw style. We're going to take a look at 5 different activities. You're going to get a chance to do each one of them, and then we'll do some brainstorming together at the end. So the first thing we're going to do is take the classic All About Me posters, right? The ones that we used to decorate our bulletin boards with at the beginning of the year. We're going to take those and put those into Seesaw, and you're going to see a little bit of a teacher twist to it, because I do want to get to know you. I know a lot of you are signed up to do this for the next 4 weeks. And I really genuinely do want to get to know you. And so you'll see a little bit of a twist there. The second activity is this idea of a 1-minute talk, getting to be the expert on any topic of your choice. This is typically more of an intermediate or a secondary activity, but getting to share on that topic to peers. The third one is a game. This is one of my favorites with a little bit older students again. But it's this idea of 2 truths and a lie. Can you get your classmates, or can you trick your classmates into thinking something is maybe not quite true that actually is? We'll talk about this a little bit more soon if that's new to you. The next work is teamwork tales, the idea of working together as a group to build a story. And last but not least is this activity called Alpha Autobiography. So again, getting to tell the story of us in a digital platform. With that, we're going to go ahead and get started. And this is where it gets a little tricky if you only have one device, but we're going to make this work. You can, at this point, just listen to my voice. So if you need to open a new tab, go ahead and do that now. And then there are instructions on the screen, but you're going to go to app.seesaw.me. This is if you're using a computer with Chrome or Firefox. If you're using like an iPad or a phone, you're definitely going to want to download the app. But we'll go to app.seesaw.me. If you're logged in as your teacher account, go ahead and sign out of your account. That would be clicking your name in the top left corner, clicking the little gear, and then pushing sign out. I'll leave the instructions on the screen for just a minute. You'll choose I'm a student because you're going to come into my class as a student today. And then it's going to ask you for a class code, and you'll see the class code. Ooh, that'll be interesting. I think this class code may have expired, so I'm going to exit and we'll make sure we've got the right one. Every once in a while, they give me a 60-minute class code instead of a 7-day class code. Okay, our class code did change, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat. Okay, so our class code is now in the chat. I apologize, I made these slides and didn't notice the expiration. VOGZVE is our code. And if you would just give me a thumbs up when you're in our class, then I'll know about when it's time to move forward. Awesome, thanks, Janine. All right, are we okay to move forward?
My name's not on the list.
Okay, Melody, I will add you to the list right now. I apologize. You might have to refresh. Give me just 1 second. Okay, go ahead and refresh and you should see your name there. Did we get it this time? Okay, sorry about that. Again, building my class roster when I don't have the complete version causes us to sometimes run into that issue. Okay, I'm going to close out of here. And I'll go ahead and log into my Seesaw platform. Really quickly, as I am getting into Seesaw, would you show me, those of you with your cameras on, a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being very, very comfortable. How comfortable are you using Seesaw? Okay. Oh, we've got a whole big range. This is super cool. Okay. So for those of you who have used this before, I'm going to try not to bore you. Those of you who have not used this, I'm going to try not to overwhelm you, but we'll see. I may fail at both of those. So if you wouldn't mind being patient with me, that would be great. And if you have questions, seriously, feel free to unmute and ask them. So if you are looking at my screen right now, what you're seeing is the teacher dashboard. So this is everything that you would see if you had a Seesaw account as a teacher. You're looking, hopefully if you're logged into our class right now, you're seeing the student side of things. In Seesaw, you have several main tabs. The first, so if we're looking in this red box, the first tab is the journal tab. The journal tab has any completed work in it that you have submitted, students have submitted. Now, depending on the settings that I've created, people's journals are either public or they're private. Within this class, all journals are public. So if you post something, everybody else in our class can see it. In another situation, you could turn that sharing feature off. And if you've turned those journals to private, then nobody else gets to see your work, except for the teacher, of course. The activities tab has all of the assignments that I have created for you to do. And we're gonna work down through this list together. But again, this is kind of your to-do section. There is an inbox section. I don't have this activated right now. You can't ever, as a student, you can't ever send your teacher a message, but teachers can push messages out to students, and then teachers can also connect with families, and we'll talk about that in another session. The last icon that you'll see on mine is the skills section. This is on the teacher platform, a way for teachers to evaluate student work and to track progress without the students ever seeing it. So this is a little bit different than a grade book. We can get into this again at a later day if we want to. But really, we're going to live within the journal and the activities tab. And for those of you, well, really for all of you, but especially those of you who are new today, please, please, please feel free to dive in, explore, experiment. You're not going to mess anything up. And if you post something by accident, I can show you how to get in and edit it and fix it. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with our first activity. So if you click on the activities tab, that's that little icon, that little light bulb icon. That would be great. And the first activity on the list is this All About Me poster. So I can see the title here. I've got a little bit of a preview off to the left, and then I have some instructions. We'll go through the instructions together really quickly, and then I'll let you get started. It says first, click the Add Response button to open the activity template. You'll see what I mean in just a second. You're going to use the drawing tools to respond to the prompts on each page. There are 5 pages, 5 pieces to this poster. And then you'll click the green check mark when you're done to submit your response. After that, you're actually going to get a chance to scan submissions from each of your colleagues, and you can leave some comments for them. Again, I'm leaving this open quite a bit. I'm not going to walk you through every single step of this. But if you have questions, please feel free to unmute and let me know. So with that, you can go ahead and get started. You'll click the Add Response button. You may have to choose your name off the list. I think since you've already chosen your name, you shouldn't have to do it again, but you'll choose your name. If you forget the instructions, there's a little button here at the top that says View Instructions. You'll use the drawing tool, so anything you see on this page to respond to the prompts. And then when you're finished, you're looking for a green check mark. So it is 7:24. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to work through this poster. So about 7:35, 11 minutes, we'll come back together. But again, feel free to unmute and ask any questions that you have. Okay, so we have a couple minutes left, but those of you who are finished, if you would go back through, actually, let me clarify because some of this is new to you. So if you would open the journal tab, if you're finished with your assignment, go ahead and open the journal, and you should be able to see a feed of completed work. So these are submissions from your colleagues. If you click on one of their submissions, you can flip through each of the pages and see their responses to each of those items. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second with the screen share, but just note if you're finished, that option is available for you.
Hey, McKenzie, I think Trisha Bunker had a question in the chat earlier on.
Oh, awesome. Okay, Trisha, did we get you logged in? Awesome. Okay, thank you. Mary Jane, thanks so much. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the teacher side now. If you want to stay logged into Seesaw, keep that tab open, or on that second device, keep it open. But if you'll come back to our Zoom call, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again and show you what this looks like from my side. Okay, there we go. So within the activities section, I can see, I'm going to go ahead and refresh this so you can see the most up-to-date version. Within the activities tab, I can see the activity that I assigned, and I can see in this little gray bar that I have 8 responses from students. I have 0 waiting for approval. This is actually something I've turned off so I don't get to approve things. I have 0 drafts at this point, and I have 17 people who haven't responded to this activity. If I click on this little gray bar, I see thumbnails that show me who has responded to each of the items, or who has submitted their work. If I click on one, we'll go ahead and click on Janine's. It pulls up Janine's submission, but then I'm able to scroll through. I can use these arrows to go through and look at how Janine responded to each of the prompts. So this is from the teacher platform. If I click on the journal icon, and this you could do too from the student platform because all of these are automatically public. If I click on the journal platform, I just have this feed of posters that have been submitted. And you'll notice Janine jumped right on this. There is a button down at the bottom underneath each of those posts, kind of like Facebook has, that says comment. So you can choose to like somebody's post. You could also choose to leave a comment. This is where teachers can leave comments for students, and if work is public, students can leave comments for each other as well. One advantage of using this platform in this way is that it opens up, it provides students an authentic audience for their work. It opens things up beyond just turning them into you. Now their classmates get to see their work. And so if I wanted to leave Kelly a comment, I could say, "Great job." And as soon as I click the post button, Kelly gets to see my comment, but so does everybody else. So go ahead and take just another minute or so to explore in the journal tab. You can go through and look through student responses, and you can leave comments. So go ahead and practice leaving at least 1 comment. If by chance you look at yours and go, "Ooh, I need to make a change really quickly," in the bottom right corner of your submission, there are 3 little dots. You should have the option to edit the item. You can edit the item, open it back up, make any changes that you have, and then resubmit it. So we'll take about 2 minutes to do this. Your job is to make sure you leave at least 1 comment on somebody else's submission. And we'll come back at 7:40. In the meantime, are there any questions? Okay, for those of you who are just jumping in, this is the first time you've seen this awesome job. Thanks for being willing to do this.
McKenzie, Melissa had a question.
Oh, Melissa, thank you. Sorry, I lost my chat.
Or I guess a statement. She's just
Oh.
having trouble, scrolling down on the student.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind on this one is that the scroll for the student is actually kind of in the middle of the page. It's just to the right of the feed, not all the way to the right of the screen. Does that help? No. Okay. Okay, next option, Melissa, one thing to try. If you are in the journal section, do you see the class journal highlighted, or do you see a specific person's name highlighted? Oh, sorry, you're muted. Okay. So I can't hear you, but one thing to make sure is that you have the class journal section highlighted. That should let you scroll down. If you have a specific student highlighted, you're only going to see what they've submitted, which is going to take away the scroll option because we've only all submitted one response. So we're going to go ahead and keep moving. This is just one activity, one idea for ways to take something that you normally do in the traditional classroom and put it into a digital format. Again, this has a little bit of a tweak to it because I do want to learn more about you, specifically where you're teaching at, what grade level, and then I really was curious to see who's teaching in a virtual setting, who is in person. And I don't think any of us are quite in the hybrid mode yet, but I know that's something that we all have to prepare for. So thank you so much for taking the time to share this information and to dive right in. We're going to go ahead and try another activity. So if you would click on the activities tab, you may see that All About Me poster activity is gone. Depending on just the device that you're using, it may take that away. It may leave it. You might have to scroll down just a little bit. But we're going to go to this second activity that is the 1-minute talk. And I apologize, I went through the instructions for the last one a little bit too quickly, so I'll try and break this one down and model it a little bit better for you. With this next activity, here is your job. So when it's time to start, you'll click that add response button, and then you're going to click the icon that looks like a video camera. And your instructions really are here in step 3. It says record a 1-minute talk about any topic of your choice. It could be about a hobby, a favorite book, a recent adventure, or anything else that you can think of. The idea is that you're recording yourself talking about something that interests you for 1 minute. And when you're finished, you'll click the green check mark to submit your video. Once you're finished, your job is to go back through and watch at least one other video shared by your classmates, and then leave a comment for them, specifically describing a connection that you made with the information that was shared. So to do this on the technical side, you'll click add response. You may have to choose your name. I have to choose it. I don't know that you do. And then you'll click the video camera. It's not going to let me show you what it looks like to record because I'm using my camera for Zoom. You actually may run into that issue too. So if you need to leave our call and come back in, you can absolutely do that. But you're going to record yourself, and then that little green check mark will be in the top right corner. You can click that when you're ready to submit. So 1-minute video about anything of your choice. It's 7:43. We'll come back together at 7:50. Go ahead and get started.
McKenzie, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So all of these activities that we're doing, are they preloaded into Seesaw, or are these things that you created within Seesaw?
Great question. These are things that I've created. There are preloaded activities in Seesaw. You can create your own. You can take somebody else's. You've got lots of options there. So I can send these activities to you, but you can also make your own.
When someone else has made something, can you adjust what they've done?
You can, yep.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Great question. All right, so it is 7:50. We're going to keep moving. And again, I just want to give you a minute to see what this looks like from the teacher perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And again, from the teacher platform, I can look in either the journal section or the activities section. If I open the journal, all that I see is that live feed, just like students have. So the most recent videos are posted at the top. The older videos are listed down at the bottom of the page. But I just see student submitted work. If I click on the activities tab, I see these activities that I've assigned. And I can see I've got 8 responses, 0 waiting for approval, 0 drafts, and 16 who have not responded. If I click on that little gray bar, I can see thumbnails from each person. If I click on a specific thumbnail, I can play the video, I can leave a comment, or I can just like the video. But from the teacher perspective, I'm able to see exactly who is finished and who hasn't. Again, because I have these set up to where they go public, as soon as students submit their response, they click that little green check mark, their classmates can see and they can leave comments as well. Quick thing for those of you who have not used this platform before, I just want to show you a little bit more information about the sharing features. Up here in the top right corner, if I click the wrench, these are my class settings. These are all of the settings associated with my Seesaw class. There are lots here, and you'll have a chance to explore. But if I scroll down to the student section, I can control student likes and comments and students' abilities to see each other's work. So right now this setting is turned on. My students can see each other's work. If I turned it off, that would take away all those individual journals. You wouldn't see those anymore. And student work would stay private between the student and the teacher. If I decide to turn this on, I could say that new items require approval. If I turn that on, I get a notification as the teacher that your work has been submitted. I can preview it, and then I can choose to post it to the journal, send it back to you to revise, or I can just delete it and say, hey, that's not going to work. You have to start over.
McKenzie,
I can control likes and comments. If I click on this, then I can enable the student likes, or I can just turn that off. I can enable student comments or not. And then if I have that turned on, I can say that new comments require approval. So again, as the teacher, I get a notification saying maybe Brian has commented on Janine's video. I look at Brian's comment before anybody else can see it. And I can decide, okay, Brian's comment can go public, or probably not a great idea. We're just going to delete it and move on. So within Seesaw, just know from the teacher perspective, you have a lot of control over what student work is shared and what is not. But you'll notice as that student work is allowed to go public, we increase the sense of audience, because it's not just submitting work for you, but we're also giving them a chance to collaborate and to interact with each other. There's that commenting feature, and we'll take a look in the next activity at the voice commenting feature. So with that, I'm going to jump back to activities and scroll down to this third one. This third activity is called Two Truths and a Lie, one of my favorite games in the classroom. And well, okay, maybe not in the classroom, but a fun game to play in the classroom and a fun icebreaker game to play outside of the classroom, just with friends or with family. But here's how this works. In just a minute, you'll click the add response button, and then you can use any of the drawing tools, any of the Canvas tools, to share 3 in quote facts about yourself. 2 of the things that you share must be true, and 1 must be a lie. You don't want to mark which one is true and which one is false. It's going to be up to your peers to guess which one is the lie. When you're finished, you'll click the check mark to submit your responses, and then as part of this game, you can go back through and watch responses from your colleagues and then use the comment tool to guess which fact is a lie. This is what it'll look like. You'll click the add response button. Everybody has a template that looks just like this. This again is something that I've created and preloaded. I can show you how to do that. And then I just have 3 boxes. So in the first box, I could choose to type. I would use this little T tool. I'm not going to use the microphone for this one just because it's probably not the most efficient way to respond. I could use the picture, but it makes it really hard to fake a picture. So I'm probably going to use the text tool or just write with one of my drawing tools at the bottom. I don't have a mouse right now or a touch screen, and so it's going to be easier for me to type. So I'll click the T. I get a little text box, and I'll type my first fact. So I might say, I have a puppy named Belle. Once I'm finished typing, I can take my text box and drag it over and then add another one. I have a husband who is a nurse. And I can say, I have an older brother named Blake. Not super specific. I would think with more thought you could come up with something more creative than mine. But there are my 3 facts. One of these is false, but I'm not going to do anything to indicate which one's false. As soon as I put these here, I'll click the green check mark. This publishes it so that the rest of you can see it. And then we get to go through and see if we can guess whose facts are true and which ones are lies. So go ahead and get started. It's 7:56. We'll see if we can have this one done about 8. This will be a pretty quick one.
McKenzie, so can you go back on something you've posted for it to be shared so other kids can comment on it, or is that you have to do it when you create it?
Ooh, good question, Kelly. You can change the class settings. I'm trying to think though, when you change them, if that publishes old work. Kelly, to be honest with you, I'm not sure. That might be something that you would want to go in and check. Maybe with a practice class. And if your kids haven't done a whole lot so far this year, you can turn that setting on in the student section. So just turning on, students can see each other's work. I think that will go back and make old work public, but I'm honestly not positive on that one.
Okay, so it has to be the same for all of them or just certain assignments?
It is. It's the same for all of them. And then you can choose submissions to allow to go public.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. So it's 8 o'clock. Go ahead and finish up your 2 truths and a lie. And when you're finished, go ahead and click on that journal tab. And you're going to open up just like 1 or 2 posts from your colleagues. And in using the comments, go ahead and make a guess as to which one is the lie. Okay, so great question came in the chat. How do we move that speech box or that text box? So if I go in and open my sample student submission, I'm going to go ahead and edit my item. It brings me back here. Those text boxes are a little bit goofy. If you're typing within the box, you can't actually move the box anywhere. But if you click out of that text box, then you get those dots around the border of it. And when you get those, the crossing arrows, you can click your text box and drag it wherever you want. You can also resize it and make it as small as you want or as large as you want and move it around your screen. In my opinion, it's a lot easier to do this with a touch screen. Our students who have touch screens on their Chromebooks tend to do a lot better with this than those who are trying to use the touchpad, but it's definitely not impossible. All right, thanks so much for playing this game with me. Obviously, if you were doing these activities with your students, you could spend a whole lot more time interacting with the activity and providing students with more support and leaving comments and leaving feedback for each other. But because we only have an hour and a half tonight, and I do hope that we can get through each of these activities, we are going to keep moving. The next activity is a little bit different. It's kind of unique, and I'm hoping this one will go kind of fast. This is where we get to talk about using those voice comments. And so I clicked on my activities tab. You'll do the same thing. And we'll scroll down to this activity called Teamwork Tales. With Teamwork Tales, you're going to click Add Response, and then we'll use the video camera for just the first bit of this. And your job is to record just the first sentence of a silly story about school. We're going to make up a lot of silly stories today, and they're all going to be about school. Those are the only guidelines that you have. So first sentence of a silly story about school, then you'll click the check mark to submit your story starter. After you do that, you're going to go back to that journal tab and you're going to listen to the stories that have been started by your colleagues. We'll use the commenting feature, but the little microphone button, I'll show you where to find that within the commenting tool to record the next sentence of the story. So Kelly may start a story about school. She'll record her first sentence. And then maybe Janine gets into Kelly's afterwards and she's going to leave a comment that has the next sentence of the story. And instead of taking the time to type out our responses, we're going to use the microphone to record. Within the journal, you'll see their responses, you'll see their videos. When you click the commenting button, all the way to the right of that commenting box or that text box, there's a little microphone. If you click on the microphone, you can speak your comment instead of having to type it. Great modification for our younger learners, but also just a way to speed up the process in class and allow students to interact and have just a little bit more personal communication. So if you have questions, feel free to unmute and ask them. If not, go ahead and get started. So if you have posted your first sentence, go ahead and again, open that journal tab, listen to the story starter submitted by your colleagues. And then if there are comments underneath, make sure you listen to the next sentence of the story and the next sentence of the story. And then you want your comment to be, these are awesome. I really wish we could just take a whole session and let you write all of these crazy stories about the land far away where we had to go to school online and so on and so forth. Thanks so much for jumping in and doing this one. Super silly, but a chance to let students work together to create one product, or in this case, a lot of different products, but adding the opportunity for the interaction and the teamwork. So this is Teamwork Teals. We're going to take just a couple minutes to look at the last activity. This is a longer activity and definitely not one we'll have time to finish tonight, but I do just want to give you a chance to see this and see this idea. This is one that was not mine. I got it from somebody else offline. But I think this is a really neat idea and something that could be modified to fit really all age levels of students, depending on who you're working with. And so by clicking on the activities tab and scrolling to the bottom, you'll see this last activity called the Alpha Autobiography. To respond to this prompt or to complete this assignment, you'll click the Add Response button. It's going to take you to another template. Your job is to use the template provided to tell the story of you, but it's going to go in alphabetical order. So this is not a chronological story. Below each letter on the template, you can write about any point of your life as long as it's about you and it starts with a letter. You can use the camera tool, the drawing tools, the microphone tools, or any other creative options you can find. So again, this is a bigger project, definitely not one we're going to complete all during this time, but I'd like for you to at least jump in and give it a try. So we'll click the Add Response button. I'll go in as the sample student. And now you can see I have 2 letters on each page, and then I've got all my pages listed down this side. And so if I was responding in the A section, maybe I want to start out by drawing a picture. And I'm going to draw a very quick, very rough picture of an apple tree. And then for B, I'm going to come up here. We'll go yellow, orange. And I'm going to draw a picture of 2 of my brothers. Now I could just leave this as my pictures. I could add some typing, or I can use my microphone tool and I can add a piece of narration. So if I click my microphone, it'll count me down. And I'll start out by saying A is for apple because I grew up with 2 apple trees in the backyard. B is for brothers because I have 2 brothers. And click the check mark. And then my narration is now recorded over the top of my picture. So I could click the play button. And other students would hear the narration, and so would the teacher. And then I'm ready to move to the next section. If I move to the C page and I wanted to take a picture maybe of a cat, I could click the camera button, hold my cat up and take a picture, and then move on to D. Really, this opens things up for your students. It lets them create, it lets them again, tell the story of themselves for an audience of classmates. And then on the flip side of that, it lets classmates have the chance to learn about each other so that then they can learn with each other. So go ahead and take just a couple of minutes to explore this activity. It's 8:15. We'll go ahead and wrap up about 8:20. As you're jumping in and looking, are there any questions? All right, it is 8:20 and we are cutting it close on time. And so I'm gonna pull us back together. Totally okay if you're not finished. You can choose to save that as a draft if you want to come back later and finish it, or you can just exit and be done with that activity. I'm gonna share my screen one more time. And hopefully clear up a couple of things for those of you who are new to this platform. So from the teacher side in Seesaw, right, we've talked about how we have this journal, this area for us to see student responses and for students to see each other's responses. This is kind of like their digital portfolio. And so within the journal, I can see the class journal. That's everybody's responses all just kind of mixed together into a feed. If I want to look at a specific student's submissions or a specific student's journal, I can just click on their name. And now I see everything that Andres submitted. And I can scroll through her work. The activities feed is everything that I've assigned. I can assign activities I've created from scratch. I can also assign activities that have been shared with me from another teacher or shared within the Seesaw resource library. To get to any of those activities or to create an activity, you click this little button up here at the top, that's the add button. And then you click assign activity. This takes you to the activity library and you can see there's a community library. There's also a personal library. So my library is everything I've created or everything I've saved of somebody else's. You can see these activities that we completed together here, or a space to create a new activity. There's also a community activity library. These are activities that are for free in Seesaw that have been shared by other teachers. They are sorted by grade level and topic and activity type. But you're able to come in here. You can save any of these activities by just clicking the little heart icon. This moves it over to your library. You could choose to assign the activity right from this community library to your students. You can also, by clicking these three little horizontal dots, I guess I need to save this to my library. There we go. By clicking these three little horizontal dots, I can copy and edit this activity. So this makes a copy of that person's activity and then lets me go in and make any changes that I want. So that is the activity library. If there are any of these activities that you are interested in having and you'd like me to send you a link, go ahead and just stick around afterwards. Let me know which activities that you want and I'll just stick the links to those in the chat. We just don't have the time to do this quite before 8:30 when it's time to go, but that's a pretty easy share. So we're gonna jump back over here to our slides for the last couple of minutes. So there's a question here, and this is a question that I wrote before I had the chance to meet you and to hear about the context in which you're teaching. So the question is this: during this non-traditional school year, how might you use Seesaw to help build community in your classroom? I know some of you are meeting in person, and so this may not be quite as big of a stretch. But as you worked through some of these tools and got a chance to play with some activities, did this spark any ideas? Go ahead and you can unmute to share or you could type in the chat. But how could you use Seesaw to help build community in your classroom?
Well, I did a get to know you activity where the kids recorded themselves. I used to do it in my classroom where I sent home a paper bag and they filled it with like 5 things that, you know, they could fill it with like their favorite toy, a picture of their family and stuff like that. And I just went ahead and did that on Seesaw, but they recorded themselves. But I wanted them to share and I didn't know if we could have them comment and see each other's, and so I made it so they couldn't see each other, so I didn't really build that community, but they got to see me, my video, and I got to see theirs. That's why I was asking if I could go back and let them share that, but they've already started other work, so I'm not sure if they would.
Got it. Kelly, that's such a great idea. One way around that, since they've already done those, is in one of your live sessions is to just project your teacher's screen and then go through and play those videos. It's a little more time consuming, and again, it would have to be live, but you could share those. Other ideas? Well, Kelly, thank you so much for speaking up. Sorry, Janine, did I just cut you off? I saw your mute button come off.
Yeah, a lot of my get to know you activities, I could just translate into Seesaw and just have them respond by using the microphone or videoing themselves and then sharing with group.
That's awesome. Thank you. So you're going to get a chance to think more about this because I have a challenge for you. I know some of you, I actually think most of you are registered to come back to this again next week. And so if you're planning to come back next week, again, I have a challenge. You don't have to do it. This is not homework, but it is an opportunity. And that is to design a community building activity within Seesaw to share that you could bring in next week, even if you have no idea how to actually share it. The challenge is to design some sort of an activity that you could use with students to build community in your class. And then as a bonus, try it with your students and then share the experience with us next week. Like I said at the beginning, one of the big objectives is that you get a chance to collaborate, to share ideas with each other and to learn from each other as we kind of embark on this adventure of a crazy school year. And so here's our first chance to do that, is just through community building activities. Quick note, so this is a super fast session. I know, again, there's some of you that have never done this before, and so this is a huge stretch. There are others of you that are going, oh, I don't know if I can create this all by myself. This, again, might be a huge stretch. I'm offering some live office hours. And so on Sunday, September 13th from 7 to 8 p.m., I will be in front of my computer. I will have a Zoom call open. There's a link down here toward the bottom of the page. If this changes, I'll send it out to you, but at this point, this is the link that we'll use. But I will be here, I will be available. I'm not gonna plan to present anything or do any talking unless you come and you have questions for me, but super informal opportunity for you to ask for help. And if you watched today and went, shoot, I just need somebody to show me around the teacher platform, show up on Sunday evening and I will absolutely be here and I can do that for you. So these are my office hours. You'll have this link if you get a copy of these slides, which I will give you the link to again in just a second. Right here at the bottom of this slide, bit.ly/seesawsocial1 will give you a link to all of these slides. You'll have access to my email address, that Zoom link, and then any of the other information that you were hoping to get. I will stick around to answer any questions that you have, but I just want to say thank you so much for coming and for sacrificing part of your Tuesday evening. So have a great night, and if you have questions, feel free to stick around and ask them.